Hello, and welcome to the Millennial Nutritionist Podcast. I'm Isla Garcia, master's degree of nutrition science and registered dietitian, and I'm going to make weight loss realistic, sustainable, and uncomplicated for your busy lifestyle. On this podcast, me and my team of registered dietitians will decipher the latest nutrition research, dissect fad diets, and discuss social media trends for you so you can feel confident knowing what to eat to achieve your health goals. Research suggests that most weight loss programs aren't successful, but my experience has taught me that this is not because the participants aren't committed. It's because those diets are designed by non-nutrition professionals and center around severe restrictions. We are here to provide the facts about the science of weight loss so you can have the success you want and continue living your best life. Welcome back to the Millennial Nutritionist Podcast. My name is Isla, your founder, CEO, and host of our podcast. And today we're going to talk about exercising for beginners. This is a topic that I get asked about a whole lot. Here at the Millennial Nutritionist, we do have our clients exercise. I'm a firm believer in exercising being very important for weight loss and overall health. Exercise is important for weight loss because it helps us just baseline burn calories. It also helps us to increase metabolism, and it also helps us decrease stress, which kind of helps with that emotional eating part that a lot of people deal with. And then for overall health, it of course increases, it helps improve your heart health. It helps, again, decrease stress, it helps with overall health. And it also helps to reduce risk of injury later on in life when you have a little bit better muscle mass. I just get so many questions about the specifics of exercise, especially for people who are very new and we're starting from zero, no walking, no steps, no exercise at all. And so I just want to bring on somebody that can kind of talk about that with us. So today we have Tyler, who's going to talk to us. So thank you so much for joining us today, Tyler.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Catherine actually connected us, who is another coach in our program. And she gives you so much praise. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about kind of how you know Catherine and your background and what you do?
Yeah. So Catherine and I grew up together in the same area. We went to the same elementary schools, middle schools, and high school together. And then she moved away and she was dating one of my good friends, Ryan, and they stayed together long distance throughout college, and they ended up getting married, and we all live in Cincinnati together still. A little bit of background about me: I started my undergrad at Miami, Ohio University, and then I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, but at that time I really fell in love with like lifting and training just in general. I took a nutrition course in my second semester, so the spring semester of my freshman year. And I was like, this is kind of interesting and I want to learn more about it. So I transferred to UC just to live at home and save some money until I really figured out what I wanted to do. And I got into the dietetics program there. From there, I was probably 2 years in. And then in one of my nutrition classes, there was a girl getting her master's in nutrition, but she had her undergrad in kinesiology. And she was working in the strength and conditioning department with the basketball team. And I was like, well, I love training. I wonder what that's like. I feel like me and her kind of flip-flopped because she started in strength and conditioning, and then she was going to get her master's in dietetics and do more dietitian route. But I started in dietetics, and then I wanted to go and learn about strength and conditioning. So got an internship with the basketball team. I ended up doing that for 2 years, actually. At that point, I decided I wanted to be a trainer, or like a sports performance coach, work with athletes, work with general population, and just help people. I feel like as a trainer, I get to spend more time one-on-one with them in person, whether it's like a 40-year-old client or as a team. And then I also work with a bunch of groups. Graduated from UC, went to Denver, had an internship with a gym out there. And then I came back to Cincinnati and started the sports performance side of our business at our gym, which was kind of like a boot camp style gym. I just started doing personal training and training athletes from youth to high school and college level.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's so interesting how you kind of changed. I feel like a lot of people in like the nutrition world end up like deciding last minute, like there's a lot of those swaps between like exercise. Cause yeah, for a minute, I always had was always pursuing a degree in nutrition, but I was like at some point wanted to do like the physical therapy route, which I feel like is also really
Yeah.
common in our
Yeah.
world. Why did you eventually decide that you're going to like buckle down on the exercise route instead?
With nutrition, there's only so much that you can do in terms of you can help people shift their mindsets on how they view nutrition, and you can help them with like what to do, but it's a lot of hands off in
Yeah.
terms of like my part. So maybe that's like a control thing. I don't know. But
Yeah.
like when I have people coming in to see me, or if I'm working with them online, I can check in with them regularly. I can program their exercise routine, and I can kind of see the results firsthand and kind of call the shots for them and help them progress in a more like direct way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that. Yeah, nutrition is a lot more hands off. It's very just about a lot of the counseling, a lot of the behavior change. And sometimes I do
Yeah.
get jealous of trainers because I feel like you get so much more time and there's like direct, like I'm not sitting there like making the food and making my client eat it. Like I feel like that's like
Right.
the equivalent.
Right.
But cool.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
But
And I could ensure, it would like pretty much ensure results.
yeah,
But
right.
we always like to ask whoever we have on like any things that they're loving at the moment so people can get some good ideas and recommendations. So is there any like food or like fitness thing or any wellness thing that you're kind of loving at the moment that you would like to share or recommend?
My wife and I have been trying to eat like as minimal ingredients as possible.
Hmm.
So we're trying to find minimal ingredient foods, whole foods, and make them taste really good. And one of the things we've been doing recently is tacos. So we buy beef from a cow, and then you get a bunch of different cuts of meat. So you get steaks, T-bones, ribeyes, sirloins, stew meat, and then a bunch of ground beef or burgers, whatever. You get to choose how to do that. And it's actually cheaper so it costs a lot to do that, but it's cheaper than going to the grocery store. So one of the common pushbacks for protein, it's expensive,
Yeah.
right? But a lot of people don't know that you can go to a farmer and purchase a quarter or a half a cow or a full cow even, and you can get a lot of meat, and it comes out to about $4 per pound, which
What?
is cheaper than the grocery store.
Dang, I didn't know
So
that. How do you even get started on that? Did you like know the farmer or is there a website?
it was kind of convenient for me, but one of my clients has a friend who's a farmer, and
Oh,
he sells beef. So we got it from him. But if you just I'm sure you could research anywhere in your area, just local farmers, and look up herd shares
mm.
for finding beef, and you'll be able to purchase like a cow, and you can go to the butcher, pick it up, and then you have a freezer full of beef for the year.
That is crazy. Yeah, I grew up
Yeah.
in like a really small town in North Carolina and we grew up eating like deer because my uncle would like hunt
Yeah.
it and kill it. And we would just have it
Right.
all the time, which was great because yeah, you like have so much meat for the whole year. That's really cool. I never thought about that.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
it's like the same thing as that, but like I said, it comes out to about $4 per pound, but you're also getting ribeyes, sirloins, like you're
wow.
getting very like a variety of meat that would normally cost anywhere from $8 to $20 per pound at the store.
Yeah, no, that's so cool, especially considering like groceries are like so expensive right now. That's a really good idea.
We make tacos, so she just puts it in the crock pot, put some spices in it, and then it comes out shredded, kind of like have you ever had the barbacoa at Chipotle?
No, but I know what it is.
Okay, so yeah, it comes out very similar to that. Or if we do a sirloin, we just cut it up and it comes out just like the steak at Chipotle. And then we put it on like grain-free tortillas and just put like salsa on it and a little bit of cheese. So we've been doing that pretty much weekly for the past like 2 months, and it's really good.
Wow. No, that is such a good idea. I think for me, mine recently, I've been getting back into like chia pudding. So I just want to like recommend kind of making that. I have high cholesterol, so I always am looking for things to help decrease. And chia seeds have a ton of fiber, but also a ton of healthy fats, which both of those are a powerhouse for decreasing cholesterol. And so this morning I made one that was like a peanut butter and jelly. It reminded me of that. I kind of just threw a bunch of stuff on there. I had made like chia pudding, which is super easy. You just need some sort of liquid. Like I use regular milk for more protein. You do almond milk, a little bit of sugar and chia seeds, and then put on blackberries, some peanut butter and a little bit of honey. And it was really good for a really easy breakfast. So you can prep the night before. And we're going to put some recipes for chia pudding on our membership program. called Millennial Living, so you can check that out. But it's just like a super easy thing because I have been in a anti-breakfast phase recently, but I'm excited to find something that I
Yeah.
actually love. Do you ever do chia pudding or do you like chia pudding? It's like some people like it and some people don't.
I've actually never had it, but that does sound good.
Yeah, it's really good
Um,
and easy to make.
but I know what you mean on the like anti-breakfast thing. Like I feel like a lot of people just assume you have to eat cereal or like
Yeah.
oatmeal or whatever for eggs. But have you heard of the podcast Mind Pump?
Uh-uh.
They talk about how people just associate breakfast as those cereal type foods because basically cereal companies back in the 80s or 90s or whatever put a lot of money into just like marketing. So then everyone associated breakfast with
Yeah.
cereal instead of like you can eat whatever food you want for breakfast. Just like it doesn't have to be cereal or oatmeal or you know stuff like that. So sometimes I'll eat a Chipotle style meal at breakfast, and people are like, "What the heck? That's so weird." It's just food. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, when you break it down, we just still need a carb and a protein and that's good enough.
Right.
Yeah. Do you love our realistic approach on nutrition but want to dive a little bit deeper? Let me tell you about the Millennial Living membership program. This was designed to help you stay motivated and inspired no matter what health journey you're on. We develop monthly nutrition and fitness challenges with prizes you can win if you stick with it to help motivate you through every month. To inspire you, we upload weekly recipes with downloadable food lists, monthly food demos, and we can even have a registered dietitian answer your questions on nutrition and weight loss. Our members form a community with other like-minded people to help support each other on their health journey. If you are seeking a way to stay motivated throughout your health journey with our method in mind, try signing up for the Millennial Living membership program for the first 2 weeks free by signing up on our website at themillennialnutritionist.com. Well, our article for today, we always kind of pick a pop culture article. And this one, I kind of specifically want to talk about this. So, it's a Bustle article about, walking pads, and it's actually one from a while back from May, but they're just becoming so popular. And even within our team, I don't know if you've been seeing it with your clients, we think about like probably half to maybe 60% of our clients have these walking pads now. And we just really don't
Oh
know a
wow.
whole lot, about them, which is great because most of our clients are super sedentary during the day. They really struggle to find time for walking. And so this seems like it could be a solution. But then again, I mean, I really don't know if it's a good replacement or not. So the article from Bustle is called An Honest Review of the TikTok famous walking pad. And so
Mhm.
this author just kind of talks about her experience with having the walking pad. And if you absolutely don't know what it is, it's like a treadmill, but there's not all the contraptions. Sometimes they don't even have like a thing to hold on to. You are kind of supposed to be able to put it under your desk. So you kind of need a desk you can raise up to continue to type on. They're smaller than treadmills because it's just kind of like the pad. There's not all the other crazy stuff to it. The
Mhm.
price that they quoted back in May was anywhere from like $450 to $800. So it is kind of pricey, but great if you're improving your health, I guess. She did say that overall, I think she really liked it, but she said that it's just kind of bulky and really hard to move around. So you'd need to be able to stay put. And I have a really close friend that has one. And she also said that her experience, along with other clients that I've had that have said the same thing, is that you can work while you are walking on it. You just have to walk kind of slowly. And it needs to be something where you don't need to use too much of your hands. So like editing a video or being on a meeting where you maybe don't have to show your face, or maybe it's just an internal meeting where you can just kind of stand while you're doing it, or reading. I've had some like lawyer clients who've been able to read documents while they're on the walking pad. So things like that. So you can't like use it all the time. But a
Right.
lot of my clients have really been able to increase their steps while using it during the day, and then they have more time at the end of the day. But what do you think about this walking pad trend? Have you seen it? Do you know anything about it? What is your take?
The only person I've actually seen use it is another like popular Instagram influencer, Jordan Syatt.
Uh-huh.
Um, he's really good, so I'd recommend people follow him. He does work on it, but like you were saying, I can't imagine. Like if I think about myself going outside for a walk and walking at a brisk pace, I can't imagine trying to do any work while
Yeah.
walking at that speed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think it kind of depends on the person's situation. Like if I worked a desk job, and I was sitting all day, I probably would invest in one of the walking pads just to break up my day a little bit
Hmm.
and get my legs moving and get some blood flow to my body. Just because we know the benefits of exercise in terms of focus and just mental clarity. If you're sitting all day, you're gonna kind of deteriorate as you go throughout your day. And
So
like you said, it helps increase your step count. So if you're inside all day and you don't have another option, like you're working a desk job, then it's a great way to increase your step count in a way that you normally wouldn't be able to.
So as a trainer, are you giving it your like seal of approval? Like, would you recommend it or do you not know?
I would say if it helps you get your steps in, it's probably worth the investment. But
Yeah.
if you can find a way to get your steps in, like outside or another way, then you could do that too, and you don't have to buy it. Personal preference.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. I had a physical therapist on who briefly commented, and I didn't think about like she did say there's a little bit of a difference when it comes to like, I guess, actually having to pull yourself forward when walking as
Mhm.
opposed to using a treadmill. Which makes sense, but I don't know. We do recommend walking for our clients just to get some sort of
Mhm.
like baseline steady state cardio. And a lot of them do struggle with finding the time. So I'm not against using them. I personally don't have one either, just because I feel like being outside for an hour a day really helps my mental health. And I feel like if I
Yep.
took that away, but I think it'd be maybe nice to have the option because some days I'm just like, if the weather's really bad or I don't know, it's really cold, like I'm not getting outside. So it could be cool. So
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I also kind of agree.
I think it's one of those convenience things too. You have no excuse to not get your steps in, if you have something in your house that you can just stand there and walk.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
It's a little easier to stand there and walk in place on a treadmill than it is to like walk in circles around your apartment or like
Yeah,
your
no, I
house.
have had some Canada clients who have had to do that, and I like can't imagine that. So that's very true.
Yeah.
Okay, so for what I really wanted you to kind of help me talk about or explain or tips for beginners to exercise. So I just wanted to ask, do you have some basic tips? People are starting to exercise and if somebody's starting to exercise and they just like are really nervous about getting started, you do this day in and day out. So can you give us some tips for what you would say to somebody who is starting to exercise?
This could be like a 3-hour conversation,
Right.
and it kind of depends on it really depends on their exercise history and their where they're at right now. But let's just assume it's like a generally healthy, no injuries,
Hmm.
and they're just trying to kind of navigate either the gym or body weight exercises. So the first tip I would say is to start with less intensity and do less like volume or less work than you think that you would need to do. Just because if you're going from nothing to jumping into exercise, if you do too much too fast, you significantly increase your chance of injury.
Mm.
So always start with less, and then over the next few weeks, just build up like a few more sets or a few more reps, and not necessarily adding weight very quickly. I think that's a safe way to progress and think about like the long term.
So what does less like actually mean? It sounds like you're saying maybe even like consider not using weights, or what does that mean?
Say I have 28-year-old female client who has never like consistently gone to the gym before, and she's wanting to either get into the gym or just start body weight training and then progress her way into the gym. So like for that, I'd start her with 2 or 3 days a week of body weight exercises, whether it's squats and trying to learn how to do them properly, get to a
Mm.
good range of motion, Bulgarian split squats, where your back foot is elevated on like a couch or a chair, and then your front foot is out in front of you, and then you're squatting down, and then just learning how to do like push ups, lunges. You could do chin ups if you. I guess a lot of people probably don't have chin ups at their or a chin up bar at their house, but you could buy resistance bands and do rows. You can learn a lot of different exercises at your home. You can just look up different YouTube videos for at home workouts. But I would say in general, if you're just starting out, learn how to control your body weight first
Mm.
and progress. Just do a few sets of like 8 to 15 reps. And then the easier that becomes, then you can progress to either holding light dumbbells, holding like a backpack, something with weight, and you're going to progress that way. And then from there, if your body can tolerate that, then you would probably want to move into like a gym setting and then learn more exercises or just progress more in weight as time goes on.
Yeah, no, that's a really good tangible tip, to just make sure first, it sounds like getting used to the moves. It sounds like getting help to know you're actually doing the right form if you can, but really thinking
Mhm.
about that, starting with things that aren't going to be super difficult as far as like a risk for energy, like not all the way starting out with like barbell squats or anything like that. And
Right.
then kind of progressing from there. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Right. So depending on where you're starting, if you're more of that beginner type person, you have a lot more room for improvement and you can do like the most basic things and you're
Mhm.
going to see a lot more progress compared to somebody who's been exercising for a few years. They're going to need more advanced movements and more volume and more intensity. So go back to that original client. She's starting in the gym. Something that I would recommend is doing 3 full body workouts per week. So a typical day would look like 3 sets of about 8 to 12 goblet squats where you're holding a dumbbell like this, and then you squat down and get to whatever range of motion is comfortable for you. Ideally, the more range of motion, the better in terms of building muscle and strength. Then we're going to do some type of lunge, so single leg movement, either lunges, Bulgarian split squats, reverse lunges, or like a single leg press is even a good option for a beginner. That would cover some legs. You could do some hamstring curls or quad extensions. And then for upper body movements, a lot of people kind of bash on machines at the gyms instead of free weights. But I think as a beginner, I really like machines because sometimes if you stick a beginner on free weights like dumbbells or a bar, they don't have very good control.
Mhm.
But if you use a machine, it's almost everybody can have some sort of control on a machine and you can progress more because it kind of provides that external stability and you can push a little harder on those. And then once you get stronger on those, you'll be able to go back to the free weights and you'll have more control on those.
Yeah, I think that's
So
a really good tip that I didn't think about. The machines kind of take away that like fear of like falling or anything like that.
yeah, exactly. I see this a lot with females when they're doing dumbbell benches. Like it's kind of all over the place and they're scared of dropping it on themselves. So if
Mhm.
you stick them on a chest press machine and they get their arms and their chest stronger by doing that for like a few weeks, just kind of progressing in that 8 to 12 rep range, like I said, making sure that you're kind of pushing your set. You don't want to push all your sets to failure, but you definitely want to have a little bit of a struggle. I call it a healthy struggle. But the more you progress on that, and then you go back to those dumbbells, they're going to feel a lot easier and you're going to have more control on them.
Cool. What is another tip that beginners should know, or a tip that if they're just starting out for exercise?
One of the other tips I have is to focus on your performance and not necessarily the results.
Mm,
So a lot of people think of results as in like the scale or the mirror. And I think the more that people focus on their performance in the gym or their exercise routine, the results will come as a byproduct of that. So what I mean by that is if you can currently do goblet squats with 30 pounds for 10 reps, and that's hard. If you can progress to do 60 pounds on that goblet squat for 10 reps and it's not that hard, then not only is your strength significantly improved, but I promise you that your body is going to be changing in that time. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, no, I like that. We kind of talk about that a lot too. Is like sometimes we just like we really can't control the number on the scale. Like we can control the habits that lead up to it. So I think it's better to focus on those habits and fall in love with the habits as opposed to just like doing anything you can to have a lower number on the scale. Cause I think what it sounds like you're kind of saying too is like it might even be harder for you to notice changes in your body over time. And my clients say that too. Like when they start working out, they're like, well, I don't want to do it anymore because I've already been working out 2 weeks and I don't like have like really ripped arms. And so it sounds like
Yeah.
you're saying like, let's just focus on like the weights or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's like the trust the process thing where
Yeah.
the more you focus on the process, like the more likely the results are going to come down the road. Say you have 6 months, like that time's going to go by whether or not you put in the work or not. So in 6 months from now, if your sole focus is on maximizing your performance in the gym and your strength gains and doing more weight and more reps over time safely, obviously. But if that's your goal, instead of just focusing daily on the scale, I promise that you're going to have better results in that 6 month time frame than if you're just looking at the scale and not looking at what's happening in the gym.
How do you do you ever have clients that like, do you get frustrated? Like, how do you help? Do you like have to help talk them down? Is there anything like that you recommend that they do to help themselves focus on the right thing?
A lot of times people will make progress over like a 3 or 6 month time span, but it'll be like a little bit of progress or not as much as they think that they should have progressed. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that's still progress.
Yeah.
You are literally better than where you were at previously. And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess I am. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So let's just keep sticking with it. Everybody's body is gonna respond at a different rate, just depending on their lifestyle factors and their genetics. You got to keep going no matter what progress you have.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good tip, and that's something we talk a lot about too. Yeah, it's just like focusing on that process, kind of falling in love with that, and knowing that everybody's body is individualized, and just thinking about like we're being positive and thinking about how far you've come. Because if you give up today, who knows if all of a sudden everything's going to accelerate in the next month or something like that. Because sometimes I feel like that happens, and if you would have given up, we would have never seen that. So it sounds like we're in
Exactly.
line there. What is another tip you have for beginners?
Once again, kind of going back to the full body routines, pick a few different compound exercises, and then a few different isolation exercises. So compound exercises like a squat, a deadlift, or like a bench press, kind of those big movements
Hmm.
where you're using a lot of different muscles and a lot of different joint actions throughout the movement. And then an isolation exercise would be like a bicep curl or a hamstring curl, where you're kind of isolating one specific muscle. But those big compound movements, because they're using a lot of different muscles, they're gonna cause a different adaptation in your body compared to just like an isolation movement where you're only working one muscle. You're not only are going to burn more calories by doing compound movements, but you're going to send a bigger signal to your body to build muscle and strength versus just one muscle. On the flip side, those isolation exercises are good for joint health and just overall muscle health. So you want to kind of do both. You don't want to just do one or the other.
Gotcha. Okay. So like I get this question a lot with regards to like how to know if something is like a good strength training program or not. It sounds like when somebody's maybe looking for something, making sure that within the program they whoever's formulating it or if the client is formulating it themselves to kind of pick a combination of those movements that work different muscle groups along with isolation within the one session. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So this is another one of those questions that could go like everywhere. It kind of depends on the person and where they're at. But if you are searching for a program, ideally you would be talking to the person that's writing the program and they would write that program specifically for you. But if you're looking for a general program, I would make sure that it covers the full body and you're hitting each muscle group at least twice per week, 2 to 3 times per week. So that would be called frequency. You want to make sure that you're hitting different muscles throughout the week at least 2 to 3 times in order to progress in those skills. So if I say you go through like a bodybuilding bro split where you do chest on Monday, back on Tuesday, legs on Wednesday, shoulders on Thursday, etc. And then you kind of repeat that. If you're hitting the muscle group just once per week, you're not really going to learn the skill of the actual movements
Mm,
as fast. So the first thing that happens when you start out an exercise routine is your body needs to learn the actual skill of the movements. So if you think about like shooting a free throw in basketball, if you go and do that once a week, it's going to take a while for you to understand what's going to work best for you. Versus if you go shoot free throws 3 or 4 times a week, your body's going to learn that movement a lot faster. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. And it's something I think I tell my clients often too is like in the beginning of starting, if you're starting from zero, a big portion of like your first month might be just like getting to know moves. And it might not be about like, let's try to lift like 20 pounds per rep or whatever like that. And it kind of
Right.
sounds like that's what you're saying too. Is that right? Like figuring out like what works for you, for your body within the moves and actually how to do them.
Yep, exactly. So there's progressions and regressions of exercises. So if you think about, we'll just use squats again as an example, because I think everybody just hears about barbell squats and thinks that they have to do barbell squats. So a progression or a regression of barbell squats would be the goblet squat, which is what I was talking about earlier, where you're holding a dumbbell out in front of your chest and you squat down. So if you learn how to do a goblet squat and you do that regularly for 2 or 3 weeks, then you could progress to either like a front loaded barbell squat. That's going to be more similar to the goblet squat, but that's also going to help teach you once you get to a barbell back squat, kind of what that movement should feel like. So there's different progressions and regressions for each type of exercise. And I would always start with like the lowest regression as a beginner. And then you progress on that, move on to the next exercise. You're going to be better at that one. So, like I said, if you start on the goblet squat, you get better at that. Then you move to the front loaded barbell squat. And if you progress on that, and then you go to a barbell squat, your body's going to be better at that and safer compared to if you just tried to start on a barbell squat.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. But yeah, it sounds like it's just like trying to get your body kind of used to it, making sure you know how to do it so that you can adequately like do the move. My goal in the gym has always been like to be able to do a pull up because I can like never do a pull
Yeah.
up. And so some like I'll
Yeah.
see those articles that are like do these exercises to kind of build up the muscle to where you can eventually do the pull up. Is that kind of like what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So regressions for pull-ups would be the first one would probably be like a lat pull down,
Mhm.
whether you're doing overhand or underhand on the bar and you have a cable machine and you're pulling it down and you're trying to get as strong as you can on that in the like 8 to 12 rep range, like I said. And then from there, you could do banded pull-ups. So a heavy band, which is going to help you with more assistance. If you can do that easily, then you go to a lighter band. And then once you get better at that, you go to a lighter band. And then
Mm.
from there, you go to body weight and you try to progress on that. The more you do those regressions and the better you get at those regressions, the more likely you are to actually do the pull ups with your body weight.
Interesting. But then like coming back around what you said in the beginning, in order to get there, you've got to make sure you're following a program or an instructor or something that's
Yeah,
like knows that that's kind of the way you get there instead of just getting frustrated. You can't do a pull up off the bat and then just giving up.
exactly. So, like if you say you're a beginner and you're looking at a program and it says to go do 8 pull ups, but you can't do a pull up, if you don't have a coach or a trainer telling you, okay, you can't do that right now, but here's what we're going to do to get you
Mm,
there. That's where like the advantage of a trainer or an online coach comes in handy is they'll be able to help you progress to getting to whatever goals you want to be able to do versus you see that on a program and you're like, I can't do that, so I'm just not going
mm.
to do it.
Interesting. No, I think that is really good to know because we do get a lot of clients who say like that they just have this fear of starting strength training because in the past they've just seen it as way too hard. So it seems like that can be a solution. If something is way too hard, maybe you need to take a step back and think about like other moves that can help you get to where it is easier. So it doesn't always just have to be so hard. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we do have a couple of audience questions that we can kind of end with. We had a lot of questions for this. So I kind of combined into just a couple that we have here. So
Mhm.
the first one that we haven't really hit on is can you just give a tip for like how to get from zero to making it a daily practice? In our program, because I'm not a trainer, more so we're trying to just get them in the habit of like actually getting to the gym or like setting aside that time. But a lot of people struggle with just like that part. What tips do you have for somebody who is struggling with that, like the schedule and the routine of it?
To go from zero, if that means they're literally not doing any exercise,
Yeah.
my first suggestion is to try to just walk daily.
Mhm.
Walk or like a light jog. You can do intervals like that. If you can get your step count up, you're going to build up your aerobic base, which is going to
Mm,
help you pretty much every other facet of exercise. But in terms of strength training, don't try to think that you need to go every single day. If you can pick 2 or 3 days a week, do full body exercises, learn the movements, and then progress on them over time, and then go to progressions of those exercises, you're going to see a lot more benefit than if you try to go 5 days as hard as you can. Kind of forming those habits, say, pick 2 or 3 days, whatever's going to work best for your schedule, and then just commit to those days and get it in no matter what.
Yeah, I like that. So it's about like first, again, trying to set yourself up to where the next step is always easier. Like if we are starting with just the walking, like getting up, you're making sure you actually have the endurance to kind of get through the strength training so that that feels easier. And then starting with the easier strength training. So then the harder stuff feels easier instead of like getting overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another person said just like how to find more time. I have 2 kids and I'm a working mom. So I think anything that would even speak to like maximizing the time you put into exercise. Some people that I work with, they say that they don't want to exercise because they feel like it needs to be this like hour-and-a-half event every single day. What can you do to kind of like speak to that?
Again, I'm going to go back to the 2 or 3 days a week. If you
Uh-huh.
can go 2 or 3 days a week to the gym, and even if you only have 30 or 45 minutes and you just pick a few compound exercises like I talked about, and you actually like challenge yourself on those sets, you're going to see really good results just from doing that. The lower starting point that you're at, so like a beginner, the more results you're going to see from just doing anything. Even if it's only 30 minutes and you can only do 3 sets of squats, 3 sets of lat pull downs, 3 sets of lunges. If you do that 2 or 3 times a week, you're going to see a lot of progress. Just do what you can and try to prioritize your schedule and just stick to those days that you can go to the gym.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying like first try to get it out of your head that like it has to be like this big thing. Know that like from a beginner standpoint, you're going to make a lot of progress just from doing anything. Cause I do have a lot of clients who even get defeated thinking that they have to do it 5 days a week, an hour-and-a-half each day. And that's not going to happen. So if they don't do that, they're never going to see results. They might as well like not even try is like a thought process I see a lot of clients go into. But it sounds like you're saying from the beginning, like try to get that out of your head and think about like what actually works, which is you'll make a lot more gains in the beginning if you just do something. Is that right?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. A lot of people, even like advanced trainees, don't train an hour and a half for 5 days a week. And the only people that do that have a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah.
So that's not practical for working people or people with kids.
Yeah. The last question I think is interesting is somebody asked how to factor in exercise to weight loss, how to account for exercise calories. So I can kind of answer the beginning of this. So because we are a weight loss oriented program, we do like to recommend a lot of walking for this. We find that it's very low on stress, especially if we're working with clients who have any autoimmune conditions that may be more prone to a heavy like inflammation, which could make them not be able to lose weight. But instead thinking of strength training as kind of like what you're saying in the beginning and not focusing so much on weight, but focusing more on the process of it, the idea of like kind of what you're doing for your body, the idea of like how much weight you're lifting instead of just the number on the scale, or kind of how do you talk to clients about this who maybe get like so into the number of how many calories they're burning during their exercise and stuff like that?
I'll steal this one from that Mind Pump podcast that I was talking about earlier.
Uh-huh.
They talk about how you could be doing an hour-long strength training session or cardio session, and you could burn like 500 to 1,000 calories maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how fast you can eat a bowl of ice cream.
Yeah.
5 minutes,
Yeah.
right? So 5 minutes, a bowl of ice cream is probably, depending on the size and what type, it's like 500 to 1,000 calories. So if your goal is to burn calories during exercise, you're probably going to be unsuccessful in terms of long-term weight loss or weight maintenance, just
Mhm.
because you can eat a lot of calories a lot faster than you can burn any exercise or burn any calories from exercise.
Yeah, I think that is really interesting. I was actually thinking about this yesterday. I went to the gym and I was just like really not having a very good day and I didn't want to go to the gym. And I probably just shouldn't have gone because instead I just ended up eating like 6 Girl Scout cookies. And I'm like, wow, I'm like literally eating like way more calories than I'm burning by going to the gym by shoving these 6 cookies in my mouth. And I could have just not gone and probably not eaten the cookies. But I went and I was still glad that I went and forced myself to go because I'm thinking I'm not going to just burn calories because I really only burn about 100 to 150 calories in like a 40-minute session. And so what I'm
Exactly.
doing is I'm making sure that I am increasing metabolism, I'm increasing strength, I'm getting more toned, I am helping my heart to be healthier because I do have high cholesterol. I need to make sure I stay on top of that. So eating the cookies like doesn't just cancel out the amount of calories that I burn. And it kind of sounds like you encourage people to kind of have that same mindset. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And if you think about burning calories versus building muscle, it's kind of an interesting thought process because you could go run for an hour and burn more calories than if you're lifting for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
but that sends a different physiological adaptation to your body. Your body, if you go run an hour every day for the next 2 months, your body's going to adapt to that and it's going to burn less calories over time. So even though your watch might say 1,000 calories or whatever it is for an hour long run, you're actually going to burn less and less over time.
Yeah.
Versus strength training, if you are continually progressing in your weights and your performance, you're going to send that muscle building signal to your body. And then in turn, your body's going to burn more calories at rest versus just tearing it down.
No, that is so true. And that's why, I've seen it for myself over time. I mean, I don't know if the watch is all the way correct, but I make sure to walk about 3 to 4 miles every day. And I've noticed over the years, I burn less and less calories, even though I walk the same amount of time. So just the walking, in and of itself, isn't enough. We kind of have to have both. And we also just need to think beyond that mindset. I think of just the equation of calories burning for weight loss and think about all these other benefits.
I can even attest to that too. So in college, I played basketball probably for like 3 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week. And I lifted 4 or 5 days a week and I ate about 3,000 calories and I always maintained my weight. And now this past year, I kind of stopped playing basketball just because of work. So I've done a lot less cardio. I still go on walks and stuff. And I've been just really focusing on my lifting. I've been setting PRs for different lifts, which is good. And now my maintenance calories is 3,400 calories. So my maintenance calories has gone up and I've done less running, but that's because I focused so much on my muscle building process. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here is the more you focus on your performance in the gym and your weight and building muscle, the more you're going to be able to eat and burn calories at rest and recovery.
Yeah. And I think that just speaks to trusting professionals like you and I, right? We know, we know the science behind it. You don't have to do this all on your own. A lot of things that people say out there really aren't true. And I think when you trust professionals, it just gets easier. Like you're saying, you don't have to bend over backwards all the time to do all these things.
Right.
But thank you so much for joining us today. I want to plug wherever people can kind of find you if they feel like they need some fitness help with everything you're saying, if they need some beginner help and structure with all the tips that you've provided. Where can people find you at or contact you if they're interested?
At the beginning of this year, I actually launched one of my online companies called Revival Fitness. So you can go on Instagram and follow Revival Fitness _RVF, or you can email me at revivalfitness.fit@gmail.com if you're interested in doing online coaching or programming.
Yeah. So you don't have to just live where you're at in Ohio, right? You're saying they can kind of serve anyone.
Yep. We can do it wherever you're at. We can hop on a call and figure out kind of your exercise history and then build up a exercise program for you based on what you want to do.
Awesome. Well, this was so great. I definitely learned a lot from this interview. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ty.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Millennial Nutritionist podcast. For daily weight loss tips and nutrition information, you can find us on Instagram at the.millennial.nutritionist and on TikTok at millennial.nutritionist. If you find this information helpful, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend who needs encouragement on their health journey. See you in the next episode.